Okay, in this lesson we're going to be going over sort of the building blocks on how I start to process what's going to go where within this video. So it's a lot of trial and error to begin with. You normally listen through the audio that you have. It's obviously quite useful in this one. We have sort of a minute voiceover here to work with. Normally these videos are sort of 20, 30, 40 minutes long. So this process does take quite a bit of time, but this is probably one of the most important parts of the step we find, because it speeds us up a lot in the long run, as we have a really good reference as to what's going to go where. Basically, we're just going to be adding text and being like, oh, I think I have this idea for this part of the video. Some sort of effect here would be cool, and we're just typing that out as we listen to the voiceover. So before we listen to the video, what we're going to do, which I always find super useful, and there's a really good tool in the side of Premiere for this, is we're going to go to Window and go to Text. What we're going to do is we're going to transcribe the sequence. So that's just going to go through the audio, listen to it, and it's going to create a text from everything it hears. It might get a couple of words wrong, so if you were using this for subtitles or something, you'd probably have to go double check it. But for this purpose, we know we're not going to end up using this, so it's quite useful to just see as we listen to what's being said come in Premiere. So I've gone ahead and clicked transcribe there, so that's just going through the audio. So now we have our transcribe. What we're going to do is we're going to create some captions which are going to be placed inside of Premiere here. So we're going to click this button here that says create captions. Create from sequence, transcribe, yep, this all looks fine. Gonna lower the maximum length in characters just a little bit so it fits a little bit better to the screen. Minimum duration, that's fine. I'm gonna go ahead and click create, oh, and lines as well. Because we're obviously doing this on a phone, it's gonna move most of the text, you won't be able to see it. So I always click double as well, so that it's gonna layer those lines together rather than having one long line. And click create, so let that do its thing. So this has created a bunch of text here, which as I press play, we'll be able to see that the text is coming through at the same time. So that's super useful. So we're just going to listen to this now and have a little read and just have a little think about what's going to go where in this video, maybe some idea for animations, things like that. But let's just have a little listen and see how we get on.
Masayoshi Son was the richest man in the world for 3 days, and then he lost about $70 billion almost overnight, the biggest personal loss in history. On the flip side, he once managed to gain $45 billion worth of funding after a 45-minute meeting, but his life started out very bleak. He lived in a shack that didn't even have an address, his father was a pig farmer, his mother brewed illegal liquor, they were broke, and Son was bullied at school. At 16, he moved to California to make money. He invented a translation device and sold the patent for $1 million. He was then one of the first people to import arcade games to the US, but he'd promised his mum he'd return to Japan, so he went home and started a company called SoftBank. It was a big success, so he started reinvesting money into other companies. In fact, he made the greatest investment of all time. He put 20 million into Alibaba, which returned $50 billion. And yet, he decides who to invest in based on the look in someone's eyes. This billionaire is crazy, and you can watch the full story of Masa right now on Magnates Media's YouTube channel, which will show you how.
You can see the transcribe did a pretty good job, and that's really useful because we can just quickly reference all the different parts of the video. I'm going to create some additional notes alongside this, so I'll go ahead and get my type tool. And we're just going to make some notes as we go along, and I have a little think about what I think could go where. So for example, if we play the beginning.
Masayoshi Son was the richest man in the world for 3 days.
Okay, so that section there, the first sort of 3 seconds, we're introduced to Masayoshi Son. So I'm going to make a note here with the text tool and be like, I'm probably going to want a photo or maybe a video, but something very obvious of who he is. So photo, video, and then here I'm going to put of Masa. And also as well, it mentions about the money. He says he was the richest man in the world for 3 days. So maybe I'm going to want some sort of photo of money, of him with money, something that is going to obviously suggest this and really emphasize that he was the richest man in the world for 3 days. So if there's a way we can visually show that, that's going to be another useful sort of thing to note there. So I'm just going to place that here. So that's what's going to go at the first sort of 3 seconds. Let's carry on playing from there.
And then he lost about $70 billion almost overnight.
So that's another good visual there. So I'm going to want to show maybe some sort of video of money being lost, maybe an animation, video / maybe animation of how much sort of 70 billion is. That's the main thing we want to capture there, is like just the amount of money that he lost in that amount of time. So anyway, we can visually show that. So video animation of $70 billion overnight. So maybe what might be cool is if we have like, I don't know, maybe a picture of like Masa's Son during the day or something. And like, as he says overnight, like the whole sort of video goes from really bright and airy and like kind of like as if the sun comes down. And then we have another one here. So the biggest personal loss in history. So we could show maybe, probably an animation here might be a good idea, like of having a bunch of the richest people in the world. So maybe we could have like a picture of Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, and then Master's son. And maybe, for example, you know, there we could have like a chart or a picture of their face, and they're still looking like they're going up in terms of wealth, and just Master's son literally V-lining all the way down just to show how much money he's losing. And that's a really visual way of showing it, that these people are getting richer, he's just lost all his money in a really short space of time. And then another good thing to also structure into this is I'm going to start labeling different colors for what is going where. So for example, the photo / video, I'm going to label these. So I'm going to click them together, right click and go label. Let's call these just blue. And the animation I'm going to keep red. So for example, as we get further in, every time I see a red, I know that that's going to be an animation, and everything else is going to be maybe photo, video, stock footage. Cool, so that's an example of how I would structure this. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the whole video. We'll probably skip to the end and we'll go through it together and just look at this timeline to see roughly how I think the final edit is going to look. Okay, perfect. So I've just finished structuring the whole video. It currently looks like this. So I have 3 different layers. The bottom one being photo and video. So that is photos of Master's son, various different things, money, all these different things that I mentioned in the video. Also specific clips I know that are out there of Master's son. I've made a note of those. So that's what the bottom line is. And I've labeled that blue, just so I know when I'm looking at it, that's how many photos, videos I need to fill that space. Then the next line up is our animations. So I've labeled these red, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sort of key animations that I know I'm going to want and need to use. And then my top line here, which I've labeled pink, these are sort of ideas of transitions that as listening to it, I've thought, okay, there's going to be a cool transition that can happen here. So here I've got a note of this transition, so this pink one here. Now what is said is...
On the flip side.
So he says on the flip side, so I'm thinking in my head, maybe here the image that we have of the animation can then flip or something, maybe a coin flips in and it flips and it transitions to the next part of what we need. If we go through and we go to maybe another animation as an example, if I play this bit here.
At 16, he moved to California to make money.
So at 16, he moved to California to make money. So I've got an idea here of the image that was there before. Maybe a plane flies over the top of it and it pulls in the next animation. So as the plane goes through the image, it pulls through like a map, and we follow the plane all the way to America where the plane lands, and that sort of shows that Master's gone from Japan, where he grew up, now to America, and this is like a new start to his life, and he's going to start making money. So that's my sort of overall structure. I've got all my ideas written down, and I've also structured them with color labels. So for example, all of these are blue, so I know when just looking at it, if it's a photo, a video, an animation, a transition, that I need to be developing for that part. Perfect. In the next episode, we'll be looking at music and adding in music and the overall tone to the piece.